morning, good afternoon, good evening. I hope you are doing fine wherever you're watching from. Right, this week, Nelly and we are jumping on a very interesting topic. It's a topic that maybe some people don't want to talk about it because it's got a lot of stigma and a lot of negativity. But you know what? It is a topic that we need to address. And it's all about addressing cultural stigma around single parenting. As you know, in many communities, single parents face unfair judgment, misconception, and pressure, which is rooted in cultural beliefs. And this stigma can affect our confidence, our parenting styles, our parenting decision. And that is why we are here today to address some of this stigma around single parenting. Before we begin, for anybody who doesn't know me, my name is Peggy Barre. I am a survivor empowerment coach and the founder of Arise and Thrive Academy. Let me pass you to Nelly to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Nelly Kwasunwi. I am a social worker, transformational life coach, and co-founder of Hand in Hand Community CIC.
Okay, thank you, Nelly, for that. So today, Nelly and we just first of all want to apologize. We're starting a little bit late because of, as you know, we're all running back from work and racing with traffic and all of that. But hey, we are here. And yes, so we're going to be diving on some key points that we're just going to be talking about, right? And the aim of this conversation is to empower anybody who is a single parent, whether you're a single mom or you're a single dad. Hey, it's not a crime. So we are here just to encourage you to know that, hey, you are doing a fantastic job, right? So, Nelly, I was just reading today. I don't know whether we want to begin, first of all, by some statistics. Nelly, have you got some statistics to share around the stereotype, among single parents?
Yeah, I've got a bit of studies here. So statistics, this is in the UK, says that 1 in 4 families is raised by a single parent household, and 90% of that is led by women. A report by UNICEF states that 320 million children live in single parent household. 320 million, this is global, lives in a single parent household. So just looking at the numbers, start thinking, why is this happening? Why the stigma? And today we are going to touch on very pertinent issues that we experience in our society, but because of the taboos, cultural beliefs, the stigmas, a lot of people avoid talking about them. But in fact, they affect us, they affect our children, not just now, but in the future, how they see themselves, how they relate with others and the world. So we will be touching that today. So be ready. If you have any information to share, I know you do, you have plenty because of your experience. Please share. Please share with
Absolutely.
us. Yeah.
Absolutely. So today is a joint conversation. So please jump on board. But this is very important because, Nelly, before we even start talking about some of the stigma and the stereotype, just the fact that a single parent, just the name a single parent, right, is scary. Some people don't want to hear about it. Some people, when they hear about it, they're panicking. In fact, it starts to stress people. And this is one of the reasons, Nelly, why you will see people who prefer to die in an abusive relationship because they are scared to becoming a single parent. They are scared of being branded as a failure or being branded as they've come from a broken home. And that is why you see pressure being put, especially on women. You have to be put pressure. You have to get married before you have children, or you have to have that child with a man or a partner by your side, whichever way. So we are looking from it from the angle where it actually destroyed the life of many people who are scared and they are dying in silence in an abusive relationship because they don't want to become single parents. And even when they have the courage, Nelly, to leave that abusive relationship, they continue to carry that stigma of being a single parent. So I don't know. I'm going to be sharing. Well, we're going to be sharing raw today because I know both of us will share. We share that. I'm a single parent. Nelly is a single parent. In fact, fantastic one at that. We are not saying that relationship is not a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, and I'm sure Nelly is going to be talking about the importance of having both partners, but also the importance of rather having a stable home, let your children have stable mental health, than being in an environment where it's just damaging you and your children as well as the partner. So Nelly, I don't know whether before we actually go to where cultural stigma comes from, do you have anything to share before we dive into the first point? Where does that cultural stigma around single parenting come from in the first place?
Yeah, I think before we get into that, the cultural stigma,
Yeah.
you mentioned something about people staying in abusive relationships.
Mhm,
Some people like you and me, Peggy, we we know we are single parents, but
mhm,
looking at some relationships, there are some people in relationships, but they are single and they have been single in a relationship or in a
mhm.
marriage for such a long time, and that has a direct a direct effect from the cultural stigmas that we will talk about just after this.
Yeah.
So I just thought I point that out because it's not just that you are single as you don't have a partner, but
Mhm.
people are in a marriage or in a relationship, but they are single. So people might ask, but how? I am in a relationship, I have a partner, but do you really have a partner? Or again, let's understand what is the meaning of having a partner, a husband, a wife, when in actual fact you are in a relationship or you are in a marriage, but you sleep in separate rooms. You go for days, weeks, months, and even years. You don't talk to each other. What is that about? So that's what I mean by people are in relationships, but they are single. They are single parents.
I do agree, and that is really true. That is really, really true. And again, this is why we're talking about the fact that it gets that bad. It gets to a point where it's that bad. And if you want to look at some people, they're just scared that, what, if I leave, because what's the difference? Anyway, we're going to talk about that. Let's not talk. We've got a lot to talk on that. So
Yeah,
let us go back to the cultural, to where that stigma is coming from.
yeah,
I think I don't know whether the stigma, I think, is more evident and is more pronounced in, especially in the Afro-Caribbean community. I know every culture have that stigma, whether it doesn't matter the race, it doesn't matter, but they have that stigma. But I feel that most, like especially from the Afro-Caribbean community, the stigma is more prevalent. It's so prevalent in such a way that single parents like move around hiding their head. They can't even raise their head up because they are so shy, they are so scared, they are so ashamed. And it is because the core of the cultural narrative, around that single parenting or around that single parenthood. So it comes from the fact that, well, we all know that in our culture, there is a normal process where a man or a woman, or in fact, a man needs to get married to a woman or to a lady, right? They need to get married, they need to have children, they need to stay together. According to culture, that is how a perfect home should be, where a man is married to the wife and then everything is happy, the children, they have children, all of that. And it's because our own parents actually, or our own grandparents or great grandparents held that same belief, that they have to be married. A happy home is a home where both partners are in that home. So again, that is where that cultural aspect is coming from. So Nelly, I don't know whether you want to add something on that before
yeah,
the yeah.
yeah. I did some research around this, And I just have some few points to talk about. So
Yeah.
where does cultural stigma around single parenting comes from? So we
Yeah.
have traditional family norms, just like you
Yes.
said about when we were growing up, we knew or we were told that the traditional family setting is a mother, a father, and the children.
Yeah.
And it is a man, a woman, and the children. But now we have all sorts of family setting which goes against the traditional setting. So that
Mhm.
is one of the areas that the cultural stigma comes from. And then you have gendered expectations. So many centuries back, society put an expectation on the man to be the provider and the
Mhm.
woman to be the child bearer.
Yeah.
So that has gone on for so many years. And because of the fact that women are the ones who can bear children naturally, it feels like it's natural. It seems like that was destined to be that way. So that's another factor that contributes to cultural stigma. And the other is religious and moral beliefs. Because looking at religion, it came from the fact that men were at the top.
Mhm.
Men wrote the Bible and things like that. That goes way down. And you hear the moral beliefs that women are meant to be submissive to men. But then what does submissive even mean? And men are the breadwinner. There are just so many things around there which comes from the moral beliefs. And the
Mhm.
other is historic laws and policies.
Yeah.
So, like in the UK, the welfare policies penalized single mothers. And then the last one is media representation. So,
Yeah.
single mothers, you talked about this earlier on, single parents are labeled to be irresponsible, chaotic, struggling, raising problem children.
Yeah.
So, these are the five aspects that I saw that contribute or where the cultural stigma around single parenting comes from.
And that is so true, Nelly. And when we looked at this, the root cause of this cultural or this where these stereotypes come from, we begin to see how it affects our interaction with the society and the societal interaction with us. I've been to places where when you mention that you are a single parent, immediately you are being looked down as irresponsible. You are being looked down as failure, as you're a failure. You're even looked down, you're vulnerable. In fact, you become even vulnerable because you are being exposed as if you cannot defend yourself and your children, so that is the fact, that is how far it's gone, to a point where single parents are being looked down as, you can't actually call yourself a successful single parent, because of this stereotype. So, and this is
Yeah,
why it's very important to talk about it, because they it I would say that just the workload alone for a single parent to parent their children and bring up their children, right? There was a video that I talked one time about, can successful children be raised by single parents? We have seen evidence and evidence. We've seen top people within the society. We looked about um, so top celebrities who were raised by single parent, and they've done so well. And in that video, I was talking about the fact that these are some of the things that if we don't teach ourselves and empower ourselves, we will raise up vulnerable children, because we are dependent or we are relying on those stereotypes around us. So this is why it's very important to talk about it, so that we brush off that stereotype, brush off that cultural belief, knowing that we are confident to raise up our children and confident in our own self. So Well, Nelly, you've shared about where this cultural stigma comes from. Now, I don't know whether you have anything to say before we move to how it affects single parents and their children.
Yeah, just at the back of what I said, there's still some further research that
Mhm.
was done in the UK. It says that this is the outcome of parenting.
Yeah.
It is linked more, so the research was linked more to family stability, economic security, and emotional support, and not the number of parents. And they found out that children from single parent household do just as well when resources and support are provided. Looking at it, you will see that these cultural stereotypes are all man-made. There are it's nothing of none of it is natural. So it has been made by people for whatever reason, and then the culture has now taken that because it's gone on for so many centuries. It now
Mhm.
feels like it is natural. But when we start questioning one after the other, looking at them critically, we will come to the realization that all of them, all the cultural stigma around single parenting has been created by people.
Absolutely. And let me just share a little bit about the very first time, Nelly, when I mustered the courage. And I always say it's about mustering the courage because some people don't understand the courage that it takes for somebody to walk out of an environment, especially an environment where they've regarded it as home, that where they've worked, they've built, they invested their life, they invested their resources, their time, their life, their year, and then you wake up one day and say, you know what? I choose to walk away. That is courage. That is courage on its own. And the very first time I walked out, for me, Nelly, the greatest fear was how was I going to cope as a single parent? How was I going to, first of all, not just be able to raise two boys with a girl, and the challenges, right? So that fear for me was grave. And this is why I said that if we get to that certain point where if we don't find the support early enough, we can derail. The fear and societal stigma around it all, or those people, or people responses about against us, can actually drag us down the hill. And for me, at that time, those that I thought would be of help to me, those whom I thought will support or kind of call me just to find out how are you doing with those children, how are you coping. No, I did not get any support from the people whom I expected that I was going to get support from. So you can see that is some of the beliefs that, in fact, they were already looking at me as I was a failure, right? I couldn't keep my home. Now I have moved out with the children. I'm going to raise again, all the stigma around those children, right? They give them all type. So I just thought I should share that one because, again, this is one of the things that if we don't, first of all, have the courage to know that, you know what, my life is more important than just being in a relationship, right? And the welfare and the well-being of those children are also important than just being under a roof with two parents, even though that roof can be killing them. So I just thought I should make that. And again, this is where we now move to. I don't know, Nelly, what I want to add something on that before
Yeah.
we move to how it affects single parents and their children.
So, yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's really powerful. I mean, like we always say, we are sharing our personal experiences. We are not vulnerable. I mean, we are not desperate here, but
Yeah.
the reason we are sharing is because we have gone through the experience and we know there are a lot of single parents, a lot of families out there who are struggling. And
Mhm.
because we want to help other people. That's why we are sharing our stories, and we are sharing from a healed perspective. We don't come here to put the blame on any other person. We have taken the responsibility that we have taken whatever action we have taken, and that is why we are sharing to empower you to walk through your journey. Because, like, if you listen to what Peggy has said, and which is similar experience that I had, you are on your own. This is a simple truth. You are on your own, because the people you think that you will run to them for help, sorry, they will not. Because in my case, earlier on, when I started struggling and I knew my children were struggling, I went to people that I looked up to and I said, I need help. And till this day, sometimes I still think, one of them told me, I will support this person no matter what. And I was really shocked. And I was like, wow. So I was like, okay. I went to other people and they just looked down on the issue. That is why I say you are on your own.
Mhm.
Take it the way I've said it. Don't misinterpret it or feed in other things. I have said you are on your own, because even if you meet people who are there to support you, you are the one to make the final decision. So for
Mhm.
me, I made a decision because that was not the first time. But then I realized that I was struggling. And I have shared this in the past. I was not able to discipline my children because I was at a very low state, that
Yeah.
when I wanted to speak, I would cry. And reflecting, I had never ever seen my parents or my mother in that state. And I was thinking, I knew that I was not being the role model to my children. And I realized that I had to, first of all, start working on myself. So then, when I feel much better, I will support my children, because my children were struggling as well. There was no one to help my children. And I thought
Mhm.
that if I don't help myself to help my children, then I knew straight away where my children will go to. And I
Yeah.
did not want to think about that for a second, which, yeah, I will not talk too much on that, because we'll come to the next point on how it affects a single parent. But yes,
Yeah.
you know the action you want to take depending on your situation. However, you don't need to continue seeking for validation because you fear rejection.
Yeah.
Look at yourself. Are you happy wherever you are? Even if you don't want to think about yourself, the children you are bringing up. We have already so many problems in society today. Are you are you thinking of making a positive contribution, or are you just thinking of following the rest, like, oh, everyone is doing it, I'll as well do it, and then just watch your children go down the drain? What are you doing? That is why I said you are on your own. The decision is down to you.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, I always say, well, today, it's not about most. When you talk about single parenting, the dice is always thrown towards the women, like single motherhood. But today, you've got single fatherhood. There's some fathers who are single parents as well. And one thing that I always say is that, at the end of the day, these children were brought into this world not by their choice. They didn't choose to come to this world, right? Two people decided to actually, well, whether they decided or in whichever way, bring these beautiful souls. And we have a responsibility to bring these children, raise these children up to be responsible adults. Now, I always say that for me, whether if one parent is not really interested, but then the fact that I carry this child in my womb, I kind of bear the pain. Thinking of that, why would I want that child to go down the drain? No, I will do everything in my power to make sure that I raise that child to become a responsible, well, rounded up adult. So for me, let's talk about how it affects single parenting, like all this cultural stigma. I will speak from my personal experience, Nelly. like I said, when I came out of my relationship, when my relationship broke down, right, which of course things happens, and like Nelly said, we talk here not as broken women, we talk here as empowered, women that have healed, and that we and it's not about, we don't come here talk with victim mindset, we talk with survivors mindset and with empowering mindset, because we've learned even from our own mistake. Yes, because I always say, we don't, nobody is perfect. You cannot come and say, oh no, I blame that person was that. Now we turn the mirror into our own self, look into that mirror and say, you know what is it that I learned from my own mistakes that I made? And that is where we speak from. We speak from all those lessons and who we have become. So going back to the effect of the stereotype, how it affected me as an individual, Nelly. When I came out of that relationship, first of all, my self-esteem was at zero. My confidence was at zero. I had lost my confidence even as a good mother, right? I thought I couldn't even, like, and you get to that point where you feel like you're so vulnerable in such a way that you just want to let your children do anything that they want to do, right? And you're taking the guilt, you're feeling guilt that maybe because it's my fault, maybe the relationship broke down because of my fault and all of that. And then as a result of that, you're looking at your children, feeling so sorry for your children. And then by the end of the day, you want to start pleasing them, like allowing them to do anything, by and then which again, it could go the wrong way if I did not take action. So again, one, I came out low self-esteem, low confidence, in my parenting. I couldn't even make like decisions, around, without actually maybe consulting my children, or kind of make that decision with confidence. No, because I was broken. I was a broken woman, right? And this is where you talked about, Nelly. It got to a point where I realized that if I did not go out and seek, if I did not ask for help and actually develop my own self and build that self-confidence and that self-esteem, God knows which direction my children would have taken. And by doing so, when I started empowering myself, that is how I saw how, it was actually having a positive effect on my children. The second negative effect that I felt again was the fact that I felt so alone in such a way that I could not, I couldn't, I felt like I was a failure, and I felt like I was left out in my community. I couldn't even approach my community because I felt like, what, I'm coming from a broken home. Who am I to even open my mouth and speak when these responsible and loving women and all of that are speaking? Who am I? So I don't know. That's just too, Nelly. I don't know whether you have some to add. Then of course will be yeah.
Yeah, so I'll talk about the emotional, mental, and society and social. So
Mhm.
you've mentioned some of the emotional impact of single parenting, or
Yeah.
how the stigma affects single parents. You have the shame, the guilt, the pressure to prove themselves. Like you've talked about, the self-esteem. Yeah, because you have come from it's not like you just carried your bag and walked away. I went through for so many years. So gradually, you are disconnecting from yourself. And that
Yeah.
is where the self esteem goes really low. Because, like I just shared about myself, I didn't even have the confidence, the courage to discipline my children because that's how low I was. But another aspect that really affects us is the fear. Because when, like I was in a long term marriage, I knew that, like, the bills we had, I mean, like the bills, the rent and things like that, I knew that I had to start on my own. And it was so overwhelming. I was really scared that how will I start? The how, the where, the who. I was just so confused.
Mhm.
And that is all fear based. But then, like you said, I had to seek support. I sought support for myself first. I
Yeah.
went through a series of counseling sessions that really helped me to make a decision because I knew the decision that I wanted to take. But because of this confusion, the fear, I needed that support and it really helped me.
Mm-hmm.
And ending up in a refuge with staff, I was just open. I said, "This is me. These are my children," and I was really struggling. And I got that support because I was like, you know what? It's better for me to get the support for for myself and my children than to be thinking of what people in my community will say when my children will be very, very affected by that. And I was like, I'm not having that. Anyway, that one ties in with the mental effects as well because there
Yeah.
was the anxiety, the stress, feeling that you are being scrutinized by people in your society. Like you said, you can when you want to speak, you have those so many thoughts in your head that who am I? Imagine you have already downgraded yourself.
Yeah.
You no longer see yourself as a human being because you feel that you are less than the community standards, whatever standards, and it affects the way you interact with school. And
Yeah.
I have shared this before. So when we talk about those in our community, it's common for us to think that there are those from the same country, from the same what people we do things together. But I had shared about the experience I had with school,
Yeah.
where one of my children went to school and the child rang me, was asking so many questions that mom, are we on benefits, are we on I was like, no, I was working full time, so where
Yeah.
is this coming from? And one of the things one of the teachers said was, now you are a single parent, you must be struggling and it's affecting the children. And I was like, really? Imagine this is from a professional that you would think that they will support me. And I said, whatever you are thinking about, these are my children. I know my children. I know the struggles they are going through. And I am working with my children to give
Mm-hmm.
them the support they
Yeah.
want. So, whether you are thinking that because I am single, I can't take care of my children, that is up to you. But my children are my responsibility. And I say, you can speak to them. So, I just brought this up because sometimes people say they are professionals and they can downgrade parents, which is not right. It's not right
Absolutely.
at all. And then the last one I'll talk about is the social impact. It is common that we want to get support, but having the right support is very important because, like you and me, we have shared today, we went to get support, but we did not get the right support, and that really really affects some people because if not that Peggy and myself are just the way we are, probably we wouldn't have gone out there to look for support because there are some people who have been discouraged and they've just decided that, you know what, there's no need to try, I give up, and that's how they've given up on themselves and their children. But you watching us today, this is the reason we are here, to empower you that
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what your society, what your community says about you, look at yourself on the mirror and say, I am enough.
Yeah.
Yes, we all make mistakes. Acknowledge your mistakes. If we don't make mistakes, we will not be learning. If
Mm-hmm.
you avoid making mistakes, therefore, you are just people pleasing and you will not grow into the person you are meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
So, think of your support system. You can delete some people in your life, you can bring in more people in your life. You don't have to keep everyone because you have known them or because they are family. What is your contribution? Are they
Mm-hmm.
making any contribution for you to become the person you are meant to be? Or they are just picking up on the wrong things you did, so then you remain small? You need to have an audit. Good thing we're coming to the end of the year. Have an audit. I'm sure the last time, Peggy, we talked about audit. Have an audit.
Yeah.
Some people delete them, don't even have a reserve list. Either you delete or you add, just have two lists. Because when you have the reserve list, you realize that the people you think are not doing anything, you put them on the reserve list, and then you keep visiting that reserve list. But don't have a reserve list. Either you delete or you add. Because that one,
Absolutely.
you know where to go to for help.
Yeah.
And this one was on. Do you want me to talk about the impact on children?
Yes, you can talk about the
Okay.
impact there on children. Yeah.
So the impact of this stigma on children is that children at their very tender ages, they don't understand adult experiences. They haven't been adults before, so they don't have that experience. So what children do is they internalize whatever has gone on with the parents, and they blame themselves that it is because of them that probably the relationship broke down or the marriage broke down, because they don't understand. And when you explore that, you will see that probably they'll say something like, I was meant to bring a glass of water and I didn't, because to them, they feel that if they had brought that water, for example, things wouldn't have gone wrong, just because they don't understand the
Mhm.
adult stuff. And when parents want to explain, first, some parents don't know what is meant by age appropriate conversation. They just
Mhm.
throw it out there. And worst of all, some parents just blame the children for everything, regardless of the fact that the children are already struggling because
Yeah.
of that separation. They've lived a life that they've known that they are in a certain environment, and then out of a sudden they are no longer in there, and one parent is talking ill about the other parent, just helping to confuse the children.
Yeah.
And then the children feel that they are that they are not worthy. It goes back to similar as the adults, that they are not enough. That shame, the guilt, it can affect children's identity development.
Mhm.
And we have talked previously about the impact of identity development. Because
Yeah.
when a child doesn't know who they truly are, first, it affects their self esteem, it affects their confidence. And what happens if a child doesn't feel worthy enough? The children start playing up, or the child starts playing up. The child starts looking for validation from other people. The child starts, the child is already vulnerable.
Yeah.
But when they get to this extra, they start going out, and there are wolves out there in the name of human beings. They just
Mhm.
look for children who are vulnerable, and they use them as their prey, because that's just it won't take a lot of effort to get a child who is already vulnerable to use them. So there are wolves out there. So these are some of how children are impacted because of the stigma from coming from a single parent
Yeah.
household.
Exactly. And we've talked about this to the point where if children do not get the support that they need, Nelly, we've talked about how it can affect their academics,
Yeah.
they go to school, they cannot actually focus, because at home they're worried, even though you may try to kind of build the environment in such a way that is conducive, but yet that guilt, the fact that they're feeling like maybe it's their fault that, mommy and dad, when are separated, that can take a toll on them, and it can affect their academics. It can also affect their own perspective about their own around their own relationship, whether the friends that they have, again, it can affect their own social network. And we talked about the fact that it can also affect, sometimes if we are not careful as parents, it can affect our relationship with our own children, just like Nelly said, especially because if the other partner is actually intoxicating the children with wrong information, and then the children now are going to be struggling who to believe. And you there as the parents trying, or maybe as the lone parent, trying to do your best to make sure that you make the children, stabilize the children, stabilize the home. But yet every time the kids go out there and they hear a conflicting or negative impression about you, when they come back, their behavior changes. So sometimes you're more like, where do I start? You know how? So it is hard. It is hard, and it doesn't really help if the other partner is there to just destroy you. And I mean, they're just malicious, that they're going to do everything to make sure that they destabilize your home, the home that you're trying to build with your children. So that is the point where, as a lone parent or as a single parent, we need to put our foot down and say, you know what, this this is not a matter of, you don't take it like lying down, you don't take it like as a joke. Because it got to a point where I said, you know what, it is my responsibility to stand up as a lone parent with confidence, with my shoulders high, knowing that I want the best for my children. And let me just, there was one time, Nelly, when my son, I remember when my son registered for his GCSE. The school, when I moved, the city where I moved into, I think we relocated in November. And during around November, the school places, it's usually very hard to get school placement. So the only school that was available, in fact, it wasn't really a good school. It wasn't really a good school, but at least that was the only school that was available at the time. And I remember when I enrolled my children, I was so happy that finally at least they can even go to school, and then I heard one day when but my ex said, you know what, I took my kids from a renowned school, and went and put them into a rubbish mushroom school. And just you as a lone parent, by you hearing that, how do you even feel in your own self? Again, it kind of made me, I felt even more like a failure. I felt like, what am I doing? And I kept questioning myself, is this thing going to work? Is it going to, are my children going to do well? But as we're going to be talking about how to, I think the next topic, this comes nicely to the next point, where when we're talking about how to challenge stereotype with confidence and truth. Because one of the ways which I challenged that belief, it was coming to me as a negative belief, and that belief was reinforcing the fact that maybe I was a failure. But my own way of challenging that belief, I said to myself, you know what, that's cool. In this country, when a child has an A, it doesn't matter where they have that A. An A is an A. The same A you can have it in a mushroom school is the same A you can have it even in Oxford or whatever school, And so for me, I said to myself that it is not the school that child goes, it is about their performance, and it's about their grades. And I'm going to do my possible best to make sure I support that child in such a way that he can have the same A star that any child can have, even in the top school, wherever in the country. And that is what I managed to achieve, And so when the day, I remember the day that child got her A levels, A star, A star, and I was like, oh my God, I was so proud. And I said, you know what? This just goes to, you know, goes against the stigma and the stereotype that some parents will have, when they're in that situation. So yeah, so again, we're talking about how do we challenge the stereotype with confidence and truth, like I just mentioned. Well, I don't know, Nelly, you want to add some on that?
Yeah, I think thank you for sharing that. That's powerful. Just on that line is we need to reframe the narrative. What story are you telling yourself?
Mhm.
We need to change that story, just like Peggy said, because it's a belief and you see the world based on your belief. Change it if it's not, if it's negative, if you
Yeah.
see that it's not empowering you, you feel that you are less than, change it. Because when you change it, whatever you believe in you see it as the truth. So
Yeah.
we need to be changing that. Know the facts, because sometimes we go on assumptions because we think that this is how things ought to be, but then it is not the fact. We need to know the facts. We have talked of build a supportive community. Don't just build a community because there are people or there are
Mhm.
people you've known. Again, like I talked about the audit, delete some, add some. You need to be very selective
Yeah.
because that is your life. Other people are coming in and out of your life, but if they are not making any positive contribution and only looking at the negative so that you will just be the person that you've always been, then those people, you don't need them in your life, to be honest. You need to set healthy boundaries. A lot of people struggle with boundaries, but like with myself, boundaries is something that really helped me. Boundaries with myself,
Yeah.
boundaries with my children, just boundaries. I always ask myself, this boundary that I'm setting, is it coming from a place of fear or is it coming from a place of love? I always question myself. Sometimes a boundary might be harsh, but
Yeah.
then I ask myself, what is the reason for this boundary? What do I want to achieve from this boundary? So I always ask myself, and if someone respects you, they will respect your boundary because you have put that boundary for a reason. And that is
Yeah.
why I say, when you are putting a boundary, first off, let it be a healthy boundary and think of it, is that boundary out of love or out of fear? Out of fear in the sense that, do you want to revenge when you are putting that? Obviously, if there is any no, just know it is coming from a place of fear and you need to change that. Educate your children, because a lot of the times, as single parents, we go through a lot and we hide it from our children. I
Mhm.
remember, like my some of my children, they when they notice or when they learn about things not from me, and they were like, "Oh, mom, you've been going through this. Why didn't you tell us?" And I was like, "Why? What did you want me to tell you?" I said, "You are children. I cannot be explaining to you adult issues." But then they knew about. They came to knew about it. And then when they were asking me about it, it came from them because they've heard from. But then I did not just have to spill everything and tell them that, because again, those are adult issues.
Yeah.
And with their limited experiences, they will not really understand things. But like it is said that with time, children will grow up, they will see for themselves and they will
Mhm.
understand a lot of things.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't want to be patient, and that goes down to managing our emotions. I mean, we are emotional beings, and
Yeah.
the struggles that we have mostly is linked to our emotions. But when you learn to manage those emotions, that's where your power lies. That's where your superpower lies, because instead of you, I mean, you just sit and just look at things. But then, why are those things happening? So that's in the sense of challenging all those stereotypes, because you need to start with yourself.
Yeah.
Why waste the energy? Instead, conserve that energy to use it constructively instead of wasting it out there, because there are people out there just waiting for you to spill a bit of your story, and they just take it because they always want things to talk about but never about theirs. They
Yeah.
want other people's stories to talk about. So we need to be careful, reframe the story, be the role model. You might be, or you might not have had a role model, but then think of yourself. You want to be a role model for your children.
Yeah.
You need to educate yourself. How would you be a role model to your children when you didn't have that? You
Mm.
can look up to anyone who inspires you, and learn more about that person and adapt what that person did to your life, so then you can consider yourself as a role model for your children. It might not only end with your children, you might be a role model to other children in the community.
Yeah.
So it's for us to be open to keep learning and growing. And one thing that I always say, let's not forget to celebrate the small wins. I say, tap your shoulder and say, I did it with all the pride, because you put in the effort to achieve whatever you achieve. Don't downgrade your effort to say that, oh, this is just small, everyone has it. No, not everyone has it. No matter how small it is, you don't downgrade your achievement. You need to celebrate it, because without your contribution, without your effort, achievement will not just come to your front door and say, no, 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 I have an achievement for you. No, you put in that effort and it is worth celebrating.
That is so, so true, Nelly. That is so true. And I just wanted to add that one of the way of challenging those stereotypes and with confidence and truth is, first of all, finding out who you really are as a person. And for me, I said the day I found my purpose, who I who I who I, who am I? Who am I? You know, what am I here for? Because sometimes when we feel that we are just here maybe to get married, we were here to just get married, have children, and because we failed in that aspect, that means we are nothing. No. Besides that, you are somebody else. You were brought on this earth for something else. And when you find that purpose and find your true value, it actually will boost your confidence, even as a parent, because you're going to be functioning every day knowing that I have this thing to achieve, and by me achieving this thing, I'm going to rewrite my story. I'm going to do something that I'm going to be so pleased and proud of myself. And remember, any positive thing that you do for yourself, it flows onto your children. When you choose to love yourself, that love begin to flow onto your children. When you choose to respect yourself, it that you will have that effect on your children. So just like Nelly said, it's about learning, it's about developing yourself. For me, Nelly, I for me, I started identifying my weaknesses, like the areas which I needed to grow on. Like, for example, what did I what did I not know? Maybe what my parents didn't even teach me. I started, looking on those weaknesses, turning them into strength. Any strength that I had, I tried to work on my strength and to become even better. So that is how I invested in myself, and by so doing, it gave me that confidence, that courage. And oh my God, sometimes things that I do and say today, I was like, is that you? Peggy, is that you? But yes, it's me, because I decided to learn. I decided that I'm not going to dwell on whatever who said what. Sometimes it's better to even take the blame, but know what you're doing, know the direction that you're taking. Because again, I said I'm not going to waste my time explaining whatever thing that I'm explaining. No, I don't. People can believe whatever thing they want to believe, but as you see, the road, the direction that I've taken is my direction of healing. Is my direction is the direction of empowering myself, healing my children, helping my children to heal, and empowering them, because I want them also to become confident children, confident kids, and also to rewrite their story. So yes, that is how we challenge stereotype, by actually investing in ourselves and changing the narrative in the best way we can. And I don't know whether we go to the next point where it talk about building pride, strength, and support in your parenting journey? I'm sure we've already touched on some of those points already.
Yeah, we'll
You know,
start on some of those. So just I just want to add here. So some single parents, it's not that they 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 decide they chose. I mean, they they were not destined to be. However, there are so many complexities around that. But what I want to throw here is, because Peggy has talked about starting with yourself, start with self-love, because there is a misinterpretation that I will go out there and look for love to compliment me. Hell no. That's a big lie. Love yourself. When you love yourself, you will be able to love others. And looking at love now, there is a high level of control. And
yeah,
why do people control in relationships? It's because of insecurities.
yeah,
It is because of insecurities. That is why Peggy and myself, we say, start with loving yourself.
yeah,
When you love yourself, you will realize that there is just no point to control another human being.
yeah,
Because if they love themselves too, you are not the one to dictate to them how to love themselves. Each and every one knows what they need for themselves. But because of societal conditioning, people are doing whatever they want and they know what they are doing is wrong, but they are like, everyone is doing it, so I have to do it. They want to be validated. That's why they do something and they know that it is wrong, but they look up to other people and they just want that approval that, yes, you are doing it right, when they know it is not right. So
yeah.
start by loving yourself and just let the other things take care of themselves.
And can I just add on that point that don't even believe the societal narrative that because you are a single parent, no one is going to look at you, right? That is all narrative that people give. So be confident in yourself when you actually, because that is one thing that some parents like, oh no, because I'm a single parent, no man is gonna see me, no woman is gonna see me, and all of that and all of that. No, see yourself first, just like Nelly say, see yourself, value yourself first, right? And then when you get to a point, hang on, once you've changed a narrative, once you become the confident, beautiful, empowered you, trust me, they're gonna come chasing you, and that time you're gonna have the upper hand. In fact, you can pick and choose. So
And I think
another
at
thing that
that,
we need to, yeah, yeah,
I
Nelly,
think
you
at
want to
that
say?
stage, when you are empowered, you don't need to be chasing, because you will not be out there wanting to be in a relationship for that person
Mhm.
to compliment you. You
Yeah,
already compliment yourself. And when you get someone, whatever they compliment is a bonus. It's not like you are deficient and you want them to dot the I's and cut the T's. No, you know you're already full, you're already complete. And when you say it's gentle habits, you
yeah,
do it over and over and over. And like there's an exercise that I like to do, and it's a mirror exercise. I stand on the mirror and I talk to myself, because it's just like, okay, how am I today? If I look at myself on the mirror and my reflection there, I'm satisfied with my reflection, and I go out there and somebody says, compliments me, um, I'll accept it, but I already know
yeah,
how I am. But imagine if you consider yourself that you are broken and somebody compliments you, you feel like, oh, that person has said that, and then you'll just be giving in unnecessarily. And
yeah,
that's how they take advantage of you. And something that I really, really, I think the last time we talked about it is with the rate of emotional, mental, psychological struggles that is in the world today. Parents need to take that responsibility to first of all start working on themselves individually and to help our children. Because if we as parents we are struggling and we don't want to change that narrative like we have talked about,
Mhm.
what are we doing to our children?
Yeah.
Nothing will change. Nothing will change. So we need to start from wherever we find ourselves to really help our children, because like Peggy said, we have had that false information that when we came into this world, we will go to school, graduate, get work, get a job, get married, have children, and that's life. But we have realized that that is no way how the world is. And each and every one of us has a purpose here on earth. And the purpose on earth is not to live on a bed of roses. No, it's to make the world a better place than we found it. So if you are watching me thinking, oh, life is not fair, hell yeah, life is fair. Whatever challenges you are going through, it is meant to strengthen you. So instead of avoiding difficult situations or challenges, ask yourself, what is that teaching me? What am I to learn from that
Mhm.
challenge? Because when you face your challenges, like we are talking about the single parenting, because we are single parenting, we embrace that wholeheartedly. That is what has made us to develop the skills to be empowered ladies that we are today, and we are empowering you.
Yeah.
So know that you are enough, or if you think that you are not, start changing that narrative. And
Absolutely.
no, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That is so true, Nelly. And that is where your goal setting comes in. Many women, in fact, there is a statistic, I think the statistic says is that 9% of people don't set goals, and how many percent don't write. Anyway, it's all about goal setting. I'll look for that statistic and bring it maybe in our next show. The greatest way any person, or you and I, if you're watching, to start with is by setting goal. And we're not talking about a massive goal, because that is how you're going to build pride, strength, and that is how you're going to get support along, in that parenting journey that you're taking. Set small goals. And when you mean we're talking about goals, your self-development goals. What are your self-development goals? How do you want to grow? What are the type of networks that you want to, connect with? What are the habits that you want to change? Look at your weaknesses. What is it that you can improve? Look on your strength. How is it? So it's about doing this reflection, just like Nelly say. Do this reflection, and then when you reflect, then you can set little goals around that, your reflection, or around what you want to achieve in your life as an individual. Set parental goals. How do you want to parent? What is the type of parent that you want to become? Forget about what people are saying. This is about you and your children. You know, what are the things that you want to, how do you want to spend time with your children? What is your parenting style? Whichever style that you want to choose, this is what you're going to reflect on. Write down some goals. How you're going to spend time with your children. Think about what your kids are struggling with, right? How can you support them? What are the goals that you're going to set around supporting your children? Do you want to get some counseling? Do you want to get some talking therapy for them? You know, how do you want to support them? Do you want to enroll them in extracurricular activity? So it's about looking at how you can help these children. Have a conversation with your children. Ask them, how can I help you? Right? And these children can actually tell you what they're expecting of you. And then there you can set little goals, around that, so that at least that can help you to achieve that goal that you want to achieve, or you want your kids to achieve. Again, Set little goals around your finances, because I know that once you become a single parent, finances is one of the huge barriers. It's one of the huge things that keep parents, single parents, give them sleepless nights. But again, it's about looking at your finances. What is it that what are your expenses? What are your expenditures? What are the things that you need? Where is your income coming from? Can that income meet the expenses? If no, what can you do to make sure? So it's about making sure you cut your coat according to your size. It's okay to downsize. It's okay to go low, right? Or lower, let me put it that way. But so long as you're cutting that code according to your size and making sure that at least your kids are having what they need to have, it's okay, right? So you can set little financial goal. Nelly, I think that maybe next time we'll try even talk about maybe we're going to talk about budgeting, or maybe something about finance, that we're going to think about that and talk about that. But yeah, so again, that is another area you can set goals, financial goals around. And then Nelly, I don't know, again, I don't know, Nelly, do you want to add something on that again before I think I lost my train of thought there? Yeah.
So I think the last thing I just want to add there is, let's challenge our inner stories.
Yes.
We need to challenge those inner stories, because sometimes, or most of the times, the beliefs that we have are not even ours. They
Yes.
are what our parents, our society told us. And which is why you will see that we feel conflicted, because we know we are struggling, but then because our society has told us that we need to be some other person, we are now
Mm-hmm.
struggling, because we now have that double personality, because our inner self, or our we display different behaviors when we are
Mm-hmm.
in public, the public self, and then
Yes.
when we are alone. And I like to say, at the wee hours of the morning, that is when you start battling with yourself. You are all
Yeah.
on your own, but then those thoughts, that's when your real self comes out. But then when you are out, you are there smiling because you want people to have that perception about you that everything is going on well. But
Yeah.
then when you are in bed at night, that's when all those fears, all those challenges, they come up. So just, you cannot be authentic when you are that way, portraying two different selves.
Mm-hmm.
So there's support out there.
Yeah.
Challenge yourself, get support, get the right support.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that any professional support you go to will be suitable for you. Pick and choose. You need
Yeah.
to be proactive, because if you go to one professional and you feel that their support is not right for you, tell them that it's not right for you. But again, don't go and be defensive, because we need a level of vulnerability for us to accept to change our situation. But when
Mm-hmm.
you go and you are defensive, then you were not even meant to go ask for support in the first place,
Yeah.
because you are going and proving that you know what to do. But then
Yeah.
if you knew what to do, you wouldn't have been in that difficult situation. So
Absolutely.
it's okay to be vulnerable, so then you are able to get the support that you need.
Absolutely. And yes, and last but not the least is to let you know that, hey, there are days that things are not going to go okay, but it's okay. I think we need to be comfortable to be uncomfortable. There are days that you're going to sit back and ask, why me? But when those thoughts come in, remember how far you have come. I remember where you are going. I remember that those children are counting and looking up to you. So it's about, yes, be vulnerable, but also be courageous and make sure and ensure that this, like Nelly said, you are in this alone. You need to say, you know what? I am in this alone, but I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna be okay. When there are days that you make mistake, laugh over it, pat yourself on the back, like Nelly said, and keep going. Say well done and keep going. So I think that we've covered all the key points that we had, Nelly. Um, yeah. So I think that is it. And I don't know, Nelly, you want to kind of, I know we've already round up anyway, but if there's anything you want to add, and then we closed, we call it the day for today.
Not really. I mean, this has been we've just been raw, like we are always on all the sessions, just talking. And yeah, we have covered what we wanted to talk about. We talked about where cultural stigma about single parenting comes from. And we looked at the traditional, the gendered expectations, religious and moral beliefs, the historic law and policies, and the media representation. We
Mhm,
talked about some statistics, which we know that 1 in 4 households are single parents, and
mhm,
90% of the single household are led by women. We talked of how single parenting affects the parent and also the children. We talked about the social, mental, and emotional impact on the parents, and the
mhm,
same with our children. And considering that our children are much younger, they don't understand adult experiences because they've never been adults before. And lastly, we talked about how we can challenge the stereotypes,
mhm,
because as single parents, we are doing a lot because we are playing two roles, the role of of a father and the role of a mother. And
mhm.
it's not just that's not just all, because we do many other things in between. So we need to challenge the stereotypes because we are doing too much. Acknowledge that you are doing your best. Yes, we struggle at a certain point. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay
Yeah.
to ask for help than to continue pushing and pushing, whereas you'll be pushing yourself and your children in the wrong direction. It's good to ask for help and get the help that you and your household need. Build a supportive network. So we need to be challenging, be open to new ideas. Don't just be rigid, because when you are rigid, you don't create room for change and you just continue with that same pattern. So we need to help ourselves first by being open and honest to ourselves.
Absolutely. So that is so true. So hey, if you're a single parent, or if you are living in a married home as a single parent, then of course, yeah, I hope you learned something. And thank you so much for everybody who was watching. Sorry we couldn't pick out the names. I think I saw Negi, or is it, yeah, was watching. But we couldn't pick the name. So but thank you so much for watching. And for those who are going to be watching later, I hope you will learn something. And like we always say, even if it's just one person that is going to change, or make a difference in their life, that is enough. So if you have any questions or any comment as you watch, leave your comment and your question below. And hey, if you want to join us, be part of the panel, you're always welcome. Leave us a message, and then Nelly and I, we're going to send you a link so that you can be part of our next, a panel discussion. So without further ado, I hope you have a good evening, and you have a whatever time it is at your end, but have a great day. And we're going to see you again on this same topic. I mean, not this same session, in 2 weeks' time. So have a good day and take care. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye. Bye.